June 1943. In black and white German command reports, the P-47 Thunderbolt was a joke, a flying brick, too heavy, too clumsy to threaten the Luftwaffe's aces. Yet within months, those same pilots faced a nightmare. Jugs that refused to die, riddled with over 200 bullets, still limping home. Soon, mocking laughter gave way to desperate orders. Avoid dogfights, do not chase into high-speed dives. What happened to turn the Jug from a punchline into the most feared adversary over Europe's skies? This is the untold story of the P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug that terrified Germany's best pilots. Inside Luftwaffe technical offices, the P-47 was reduced to a punchline. Official memos from early 1943 dismissed it as zu schwer, zu plump, too heavy, too clumsy. Training syllabi ranked it well below the Spitfire Mark IX and the new Mustang, barely worth a footnote. One syllabus from Jagdgeschwader 26 even listed the Thunderbolt as a secondary threat, noting, "No special tactics required, standard procedures apply." Pilots preparing for combat in France were briefed with the same tone. One internal report quipped, "If you cannot shoot it down, at least you will not miss." That line made the rounds on airfields from Lille to Paris, where seasoned aces measured enemy fighters by how quickly they could be dispatched. The Bf-109s and FW-190s, light and nimble, had set the standard. The Jug, by comparison, was a running joke. Its size, according to one technical officer, made it an easy target for all calibers. Instructors reminded new pilots that the Thunderbolt's climb rate was unimpressive, its roll sluggish, its silhouette unmistakable. During spring briefings, the P-47 was often described as the milk bottle, a reference that drew snickers in the ready rooms. Few saw any reason to revise these opinions. The Luftwaffe's best believed the war in the air would be decided by agility and precision, not brute force. On paper, the Jug was a curiosity, not a contender. No one in those smoke-filled offices could have predicted how quickly the joke would turn. The American nickname started as a jab, literally. When the P-47 first arrived in England, pilots and ground crews took one look at its barrel-shaped fuselage and called it the Jug. The press caught wind almost immediately. By April 1943, USAAF public relations officers were already using the moniker in official bulletins. Headlines in Stars and Stripes and the New York Times ran with it, sometimes poking fun, sometimes marveling at the size and firepower. Pilots in the 56th Fighter Group, among the first to fly the Thunderbolt in combat, leaned into the joke. They painted nose art with milk bottles and jugs, and swapped stories about the big, ugly Jug that could take a pounding and bring you home. Instead of shying away from the insult, the Americans owned it. Press releases highlighted the Thunderbolt's massive frame and rugged construction. One USAAF spokesman quipped, "It's not pretty, but neither is a sledgehammer." The message was clear. The Jug was built for survival, not for style points. Interviews with pilots echoed the sentiment. Lieutenant Bob Johnson told reporters, "I'd rather fly a Jug than anything else. You can shoot holes in it all day and it'll just keep flying." By the summer of 1943, the slur had become a badge of honor. Magazine covers featured the Jug in dramatic angles, emphasizing its bulk and its 8.50 caliber guns. What started as a joke in enemy ready rooms was now a rallying cry. The Jug wasn't just a nickname, it was a statement. The Americans had turned mockery into pride, and the legend of the Thunderbolt's toughness was just beginning to spread. June 26, 1943. Over the skies of France, Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson flew tail-end Charlie in his P-47C, serial number 41-6235. The formation was barely clear of the target when 16 Focke-Wulf 190s swept down from above, guns blazing. In the opening seconds, Johnson's Thunderbolt took the brunt. 21 20mm cannon shells slammed into the canopy, engine cowling and wings. Hydraulic fluid sprayed across the cockpit, the instrument panel exploded, and fragments tore through his nose and leg. The canopy jammed shut, trapping him inside as smoke filled the cockpit. Controls went slack. The Jug somehow stayed airborne. As Johnson limped toward the channel, a lone FW-190 latched on. The German pilot emptied his remaining ammunition at point-blank range, riddling the P-47 with over 200 bullet holes. When that failed, he pulled alongside, close enough for Johnson to see his face. The German tried to saw the Jugs' tail off with his propeller. Unsuccessful, he finally saluted and broke away. Johnson, bleeding and half-blind, coaxed his battered aircraft home at barely 170 miles per hour. Ground crews counted more than 200 holes in the airframe, with the canopy fused shut and the engine cowling torn open. Official after-action reports and maintenance logs confirmed the damage. For the first time, German pilots realized their guns couldn't guarantee a kill. The question spread across Luftwaffe squadrons. How could a machine so heavy, so mocked, refuse to die? Republic's engineers approached the Thunderbolt as a serious answer to a brutal question. How do you build a fighter that can climb, dive, and survive when others can't? The answer started with the Pratt & Whitney R-2800 Double Wasp, a 2,000 horsepower radial engine paired with a turbo-supercharger. This combination kept the Jug at full power above 30,000 feet, pushing level flight speeds past 420 miles per hour and letting it dive safely beyond 500 miles per hour. On the test stand, the R-2800 shrugged off damage that would sideline liquid-cooled rivals, running strong even with lost cylinders or low oil pressure. Protection was built in from the start. The cockpit formed a steel tub with up to 3/4 of an inch of armor shielding the pilot. Self-sealing fuel tanks in the wings and behind the seat could take hits from machine guns or 20mm cannon and still keep the plane flying. Engineers knew the Jug could absorb punishment that would destroy lighter fighters. Firepower was unmatched. 8.50 caliber Brownings, 4 in each wing, gave the Thunderbolt a weight of fire no other single-seat fighter in Europe could match. Each gun carried 425 rounds, over 3,000 in total, enough to unleash a solid wall of lead in a single pass. Every detail was built for the long fight, not for show. Subscribe for more stories from both sides of the lines. By late summer 1943, Luftwaffe flight leaders received a new kind of instruction, one that carried the weight of bitter experience. Squadron briefings now warned against chasing Thunderbolts in steep dives. The directive was clear: do not pursue beyond 500 miles per hour. German pilots used to dictating the fight found themselves hesitating at altitude. The FW-190 and BF-109, both vulnerable to control stiffening and structural failure, simply could not follow a Jug that dove for the deck. Reports from Luftwaffe 3 headquarters summarized the lesson. Attacks on Thunderbolts should be limited to quick, slashing passes from above, avoiding vertical dogfights at all costs. In his diary, Hajo Herrmann recorded his frustration. Thunderbolts, he wrote, could vanish in a dive, immune to pursuit, and reappear at will. For the first time, staff officers acknowledged the Jug's speed and strength had forced a change in doctrine. The order was not born of caution, but of necessity. January 5th, 1944. Near Tours, France, the morning air rattled with the sound of Thunderbolts sweeping low over the rails. In a single day, P-47 pilots claimed more than 24 locomotives destroyed. Mission logs from the 365th and 366th fighter groups tallied strike after strike along the Paris to Lille and Amiens to Arras lines. German railway crews, who once dismissed air attacks as a passing threat, now abandoned their trains at the first sign of Jugs overhead. Flak gunners fired until barrels glowed, but the Thunderbolts pressed on, shrugging off small arms fire and even direct hits from light anti-aircraft guns. A captured Wehrmacht field report called them tough as tanks, and among the crews the phrase spread, Panzer in der Luft. Daylight schedules were quietly cancelled. One anonymous diarist wrote, "If the sky is clear, we do not move." The Jug's reputation had left the airfields and settled deep into the rail yards, turning routine supply runs into a daily gamble. For the men on the ground, the war above was no longer distant. It was a thunderclap that could strike at any moment. By January 5th, 1944, Thunderbolt pilots destroyed 30 locomotives in a single day, proof of the P-47's evolution from underestimated fighter to feared battlefield weapon. German reports that once mocked it as too heavy, too clumsy would, months later, describe the Jug as a tank of the sky. Battle logs, Luftwaffe directives, and pilot diaries all confirm a dramatic reversal. Enemy aces went from dismissing the P-47 to issuing orders to avoid it in high-speed dives. Yet not every German directive on Thunderbolt encounters has been declassified, and some frontline diaries remain lost. What is clear, the P-47's brute strength and relentless firepower forced new tactics, changed the air war's balance, and shattered enemy morale on land and in the skies. Today, its legacy endures in the design of modern attack aircraft and the lessons of underestimated power. As one German officer wrote, "When the Jug appeared, we no longer felt safe. Anywhere." If you found this perspective valuable, subscribe and share this video with someone who loves World War II history.